Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and this is Wicked Flicks. With this particular video, I'm going to be talking about the 2015 film 1 and 2, which I just got done watching very recently as of the time of this recording, and found to be quite an intriguing film, especially as a superhero movie fan and everything like that. This movie is billed as a supernatural thriller and has to do with a power set very similar to the X-Men's Nightcrawler. That is to say, teleportation, and even, done special effect-wise very similarly to how you see him doing it in the X-Men films. And I just found this to be all kinds of captivating and intriguing. I think my only gripe about the film, which I'll get out of the way right away, is that it's very slow and methodical. It takes you in certain directions that you don't normally expect, or wouldn't normally expect, with this particular subject matter, very much hearkening back to a look and vibe akin to M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. It's very much centered around a couple of siblings, a brother and sister, and their mother and father, who are closed off from the modern world and living a very sort of 1800s farmer lifestyle in this walled-in farm grove, that kind of thing. And there are superstitions about, because the mother has fallen ill. If you read the synopsis for the film, it kind of, that's what gets the ball rolling. She begins to experience what can only be described as seizures. And her illness is what really starts the ball rolling for the father, who's very domineering, to the point where an idea of punishment for when his kids are sneaking out at night using their abilities, which is something he doesn't want them to do. He nails their clothes up to the wall while they're wearing them and leaves them hanging there for hours and hours and hours and hours. They end up in bodily pain and all this kind of stuff. And he's very superstitious. And if you read the synopsis, there is some talk about, dark family secrets. I guess you could say this is another minor gripe that I have. There is some dialogue about 3/4 of the way into the film, when the film is, ramping up to its conclusion, that touches base on this, but they never really delve too far into it. What exactly it is, what the father's motivations are that have to do with these superstitions, but it has to do with the abilities that the brother and sister have. And they are apparently the only ones who have this ability to teleport. As I say, they're sneaking out in the middle of the night, and when their mother falls ill, it seems that the father is somewhat unforgiving and somewhat suspicious that it has to do with the daughter, because her birth signified a change in the mother's, biochemistry or something along those lines. And it very much is an intriguing film in that, I didn't quite know after reading the synopsis where they would go beyond that. Once they get to that crux in the story, there's still half the movie left to go. So I was like, what is going on? What's going to happen? And it's very much about the daughter being left to her devices. She's kind of sent packing by the father during a turning point in the story. And the rest of the film is her trying to find herself, trying to make sense of the outside world, which she's only just first encountering for the very first time. She's very virginal to the world. And the brother is left to assume that, well, I don't want to spoil everything to do with the movie, but he's left to assume that his mother has, in all likelihood, perished because of her illness, and maybe his sister did too. And there's a reunification that makes the entire thing worthwhile. What I really love about the film is there are setups in the early going that have culminations, that actually have payoffs. And some of them are quite shocking. Some of them are quite satisfying. A couple of them are predictable. There's one sequence where the daughter, who is using her ability, she's much more the go-getter, whereas the son is ready to resign himself to his father's fatherly rule. She's kind of the rebel. She wants to still use her abilities. She thinks it's unfair that they're living the lifestyle they are. They have a sequence where they've snuck out in the middle of the night. They're stargazing. A plane is flying overhead. And they're talking about what would happen if I concentrated hard enough and I used my teleportation ability. Maybe I could get up to that plane. What would we do? We would run away, that kind of thing. Would you come with me? She asks her brother. And this is something that plays into the finale of the film, as far as being able to leap super duper high via teleportation. Something out of the Matrix is the sequence, reminiscent of toward the end of the film. And there's also a sequence where she is bustling around the farmhouse and she stumbles across a little baby chick she decides to help this little baby, which has been separated from its family, and she teleports with it in hand, and she basically finds out that doing this, she inadvertently kills the animal, and she's very shocked and, as anyone would be, saddened by this. But this is a setup. There's something later that is going to be coming, a confrontation that's going to be coming with the brother, where there's a payoff to this. And I actually called it, my sister and I were watching the film together, and I said to her, just watch. There's going to be an altercation, and the brother's going to do this, and blah, 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 without wanting to spoil it. And sure enough, it played out that way. There was an altercation, and he did not know what the result would be if he teleported with someone else. And I won't say who it was. But it's very interesting in that, it has shades of a lot of different things. The X-Men thing, as I say, with the Nightcrawler teleportation ability being reminiscent to The Village, M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. There are aspects to it because they are kind of living a sort of Amish almost lifestyle. There were certain visual aesthetics in the filmation of the film that reminded me of the Divergent series to a point. And I kind of feel like this could have been a really good setup movie for a series or something like that, like a pilot or something. I feel like there's more to the story that could be told, even though the ending is quite satisfying in the reunification aesthetic that, how the story plays out. But it's just really intriguing to me how slow and methodical it is. Getting to know this family, that's one of the things I can say that is stellar about the film. The casting is absolutely brilliant. You never for 1 minute disbelieve these actors are the characters they're playing. The father is the father, the mother is the mother, the brother and sister are the brother and sister. You might recognize actually the one who plays the daughter, the sister, as being from Mad Men. I think her name is Kiernan Shipka, and she kind of looks like she could be the younger sister of Emma Watson, which was cool because the idea of supernatural powers hearkening to Harry Potter, which is not a film series I'm very much into, but just that alignment. There are so many shades of different things that you get going into this film. And it was quite a surprise because it's not quite the sort of movie you're used to seeing nowadays. It's kind of like the antithesis to a movie like Jumper, which is very much about teleporting and all kinds of action and all this kind of stuff. People chasing people around the world. This is very much more subdued. It's very methodical. It's very slowly paced. And you kind of have to wait for the payoff. But if you stick with it, it is so worth it. It's so worth it in the end. It's so satisfying in the end in its payoff. And I couldn't give it any more higher praise. I was actually really wowed by the film just having watched it hours ago, as of the time of this recording, for the very first time. And it will definitely be one that I will want to hunt down on DVD and own at some point, because I think it was a special film. I think it went to Sundance and maybe won some awards, I'm not exactly sure. But it's definitely one I wanted to highly recommend in video format, thus why you're watching this particular video. And so yeah, if you've ever heard of the film, 1 and 2 is the title. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't seen it, hopefully I haven't spoiled too much for you that, might entice you to go check it out. Let me know that as well if you have any curiosity, if you're going to be checking it out based on this video recommendation. And so yeah, otherwise it'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.